Watching News at Prime, let's bring you this conversation now, and we continue with our coverage on the reaction to President Cyril Ramaphosa's decision to deploy the army to fight gangsterism and illegal mining in Gauteng and the Western Cape provinces. The Portfolio Committee on Defence has commended the move, saying it will restore order in order to protect the citizens against what it says is internal criminal threats. Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Defence is Dakota Legoete, and he joins us now. Mr. Legoete, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. Can I start with a quick question about whether you are any clear as to when the army is going to deploy to these two provinces? Are you aware of any timelines?
Thank you very much, Tole, and good evening to all the viewers at home. Look, from our side, we would not be able to confirm any operational matter. What we know is that the crime or the criminal element in our republic is now at a point where it's undermining the sovereignty of the country, including the territorial integrity. And from the example we have seen elsewhere in the world, including what happened in Haiti, where gangsters led by Barbecue took over government, we think the matter of gangs, the matter of lawlessness in our country is becoming a serious security threat. And in the short term, we think the deployment of the defense force will be okay, but in the medium and long term, it will be very much important for the executive and the cabinet to look at our intelligence services and how to get them up, to look at how to cut and address the economy of gangs, including how they recruit, including to cut the network of illegal mining and how to cut it. All this must be in the long term, and they must be done by the police and the intelligence services. But for now, because over 26,000 South Africans, according to Statistics South Africa, died in the hands of the criminal element, which makes it more than 80 people who are killed daily in our country without a civil war.
Okay.
It cannot be possible in a country where there's a national defense force, where there's a police service and intelligence services.
You raise a very interesting element here, and I may have completely overlooked it, so thank you for raising it. Intelligence services, we know that there is what is called military intelligence, just as police have their intelligence arm, but the military has its own. When the military deploys, how does it work? Is the intelligence part of the army also part of this deployment in order to make sure that the soldiers are at the right place at the right time in order to not only react, but to predict and see things before they happen? Because that's the role of intelligence services, is to detect in order to stop something from happening as opposed to reacting after the fact.
Indeed, you are correct that the intelligence services must be ahead of the case of the criminal element. I think on that one, the intelligence officers as operatives, they do have a plan in terms of what to do and what is to be done. I'm sure even on the decision of the president as the commander-in-chief, there should have been a contribution by the intelligence in terms of how we deal with this thing. Our biggest concern from the side of the Portfolio Committee, we have taken an oath to uphold and respect the Constitution, to protect the Republic and its people, territorial integrity and its sovereignty. So far, the criminal element has undermined our sovereignty, our right to govern the Republic, in the fact that people in South Africa are living in fear with high walls, electric fences, others with private bodyguards. It cannot be. Those who can't afford them, they have to pay some extortion fees to extortionists in some villages and some of our townships. We cannot continue like this. The executive must act, and they must act with the full might of the law and push back this particular threat to our national security, because national security, unlike energy security, in energy you can recommission, you do and everything. But with national security, once the country is gone, it's gone. We have seen Haiti went away to criminals and gangs, And it cannot be the case in our country. We cannot allow this to continue. 26,000 people are killed every year in our country without a civil war. This we can call a low-key civil war. We cannot continue like this. We have to save our country. We have to save the future of our children, because the biggest threat is that even our current generation of young people and youth are likely to be wiped away by nyaupe and other illicit substances. We'll have to build more rehabilitation centers in the future than universities and TVET colleges. We cannot continue like this.
Yeah.
We are very clear as the portfolio committee that the executive must act. It's high time now. People are living in fear, and we can't continue like this.
Mr. Legoete, you are saying all the right things. There, I'm not sure that South Africans will critique you, but here is the criticism, and it is that this is a short-term measure. The army are not trained to conduct what the police do, which is civilian policing. And it being a short-term measure means that there's also money that comes with this deployment. Some people will criticize and say it's a short-term measure given to people who are not trained to conduct civilian operations, and therefore, in a way, it's sort of it's money gone to waste. I don't know if you agree with that sentiment.
Look, I would not agree with that sentiment. If we look at the cost-benefit analysis, 26,000 South Africans die in the hands of the criminal element. The criminal element exposes a threat to the entire society to an extent that people have to hire private security, live in electric fences. There's fear. People even, they are not sure whether the future of their children is safe under the current crisis of illicit substances. So that is a threat. But besides, the National Defence Force, according to Section 200, subsection 2 of the Constitution, it has the responsibility to protect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the country. Now, territorial integrity does not only mean our seas, our land, our rivers, our townships, our villages. It also means the people of the Republic who are threatened by the criminal element. So it cannot be a money goes on waste.
Okay.
But besides, we have minerals, we have assets that goes into trillions of rands and billions of rands. All of those assets, including the future of the children, it's under security threat. So it's no longer a child's play. We are a country that is in crisis. Before we reach a stage of being a failed state, we must act.
Whoa, those are very strong words coming from a member of the African National Congress. But let me bring politics into the equation here, Mr. Legoete. A few moments ago, I spoke to a member of the Democratic Alliance in the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature. And without putting words in his mouth, I'd like for you to listen to them, because they're saying the people of Gqeberha, clearly, they are the forgotten ones here. They don't understand why the army is not being deployed there as well. Take a listen to this.
It might have something to do with the fact, Holly, that this community has been largely ignored, and not only in this instance, even under the current coalition government, which is ANC run in Nelson Mandela Bay, the capital budget allocations are a complete disgrace. My community, which are, and one doesn't want to racialize it, Holly, but my community, which is made up of people that largely look like me, mostly colored and Indian South Africans, have been treated as if our lives do not matter. We are the forgotten people in the city. The capital budgets allocated the wards with majority colored and Indian populations, less than 5% of the overall capital budget allocations.
Mr. Legoete, that's Yusuf Kasim from the Democratic Alliance. How do you respond?
Look, our president, the longest serving president of the ANC, President Oliver Tambo, warned us against the criminal element. He said a revolutionary is distinguishable from a criminal element. And I think that is the understanding that all of us are called into action to ensure that we push back this criminal element. Look, we're a national defense force representing a whole republic, and I'm sure those who are operational will consider the views from this member of the community from Quebec that they must not be forgotten in the whole operations. I'm sure those who are operational, who deals with the budget and all the tools of trades, will ensure that Quebec and other parts in the country where an intelligence report is there, that clearly some of those areas are hotspots, all of them needs to be attended. Look, the defense force, we agree it's a short-term intervention because we can't keep our boots on the ground to deal with the work that the police and the intelligence needs to work on. They can be there only to salvage the sovereignty of the country because so far the whole country is under threat of being under a gang dictatorship and a dictatorship by the criminal element. And that cannot be allowed to continue because we are a legitimate government. We have the burden of leadership to ensure that we defend the sovereignty of the country. And that's why the portfolio committee would not be different from what the executive is putting forward, because clearly, if 80 people die in the hands of the criminal element every day, and 26,000 of them die every year, we're a country in a low-key civil war, and that cannot continue.
All right. So, in short, you would support, as the portfolio committee, the deployment of soldiers in Nelson Mandela Bay?
Look, I'm a parliamentarian who took an oath. In a constitutional democracy, any negligence by the state can lead to litigation, be it a wrongful arrest, be it a wrongful operation in the hospital. So this continued death of more than 26,000 people every year in the hands of the criminal element, it's bordering on peace and stability in our country. It's bordering on economic growth. It's bordering on job creation, and it cannot continue that criminals alone benefit when the rest of the nation is suffering from hunger and poverty as a result of their actions. That must be stopped. We must be very clear as a republic. What do we want? Do we want a future for our children, or are we casual, or are we timid with power?
Dakota Legoete is the chairperson of the Defense Committee, Defense Portfolio Committee. And yeah,